Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple Coverage Podcast. I'm here with the boys. My name is Travis Sutton. I'm here with Jay Up.
What's up, guys?
And his brother James.
What's up, dudes?
How's everybody doing?
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
All right.
We're going to get some tight ends.
Yes, we are. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's your favorite topic. We all know.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Prospects, rookie prospects. We're going to do a rookie profile. We're going to do Mike Gesicki. Or Gesicki.
Gesicki.
Or Gesicki. We're not really 100% sure.
I was watching the highlights the other day, and it was the announcer said Gesicki the whole time.
I don't like that much, actually.
I don't know if I do either. I've been saying Gesicki for so long.
Right.
Again, we can say whatever we want until he gets to the NFL and starts actually producing, then we'll change the name.
There's not a U in it. I don't think it should be Gesicki. Like Gesicki.
A U.
Doesn't sound right.
What's a
G?
U?
G sound?
A G makes that sound, not a U.
No.
G-U would. G? No?
Gesicki.
How do you spell goat?
Goat is not the same as Gesicki.
Go. Okay,
Goobers.
Let's get into this. Mike
Mikey
is
G?
a tight end.
Mikey G?
Mike G.
Mikey G. He played for Penn State. It's a pretty good sized dude. It's 6'5", 247.
String bean.
Big hands, 10 and an 8. Decent 40, 4.54. Did decent bench press, 22. Verticals, pretty nice.
Love his
41.5
3-cone
inches.
drill.
Yeah, he's got some moves.
Would we say super athletic?
Super.
As we did some
he-
digging, yeah, he's pretty much like in
All
high
around.
school. Yeah, all around athlete for everything.
So, I mean,
Except for
fast.
baseball.
He's fast. He 3-cone drill, very athletic. 41.5-inch vertical. And then we started digging a little bit. What did we find out, Jay?
We found out like in high school in New Jersey.
Oh,
Right.
We got high school news. Let's
He was player of the year for football.
paint this picture.
He's the school's all-time leading scorer in basketball,
Right.
state slam dunk contest winner,
Boom.
and a 4-time letter winner in volleyball. So pretty
Yes,
much
sir.
he did everything but baseball, it sounds like, and excelled at everything, which kind of leads to the whole vertical jump.
Yeah.
Volleyball player.
41.5-inch. Was he a spiker?
If he's
He
jumping
had
that
to-
high, he's slamming that ball.
And he's 6'5", so I'm sure.
straight down.
Yeah, 6'5", and jumps out of the building. He's probably jumping over the net in volleyball.
It's definitely translated to his game in college with the whole leaping ability of going up, getting passes in traffic, being able to jump over everyone else, especially defensive backs and safeties that are 5'9", 5'10", and you're 6'5", and you have a 41-inch vertical. Just throw the ball in the air.
One thing he didn't do in high school and college, block.
Yeah,
Didn't do it.
still doesn't want to.
Hey, tight ends these days, they don't all have to block.
I know, but like if you're in on any running play and you got to hold that defensive lineman or that linebacker at the line, is he just never going to play on first and second downs when they're running? Like it's just like you almost have to now assume that whoever else is there is going to be splitting time already because he can't block.
People don't throw on first and second down.
They do sometimes, but he's 6'5", almost 250. You can't just stand there and like just get in the guy's way a little bit. I was watching plays; it was bad. Like it's
Well, that's college.
it's almost like it's in his head. Right? It's college, which means it
I'm
should
sure-
probably get harder.
I'm sure he could get in somebody's way while he's on his way to run a route. It's going to be one of those where you see the guy look like he's going to block, but then all of a sudden he breaks off and
He's like, just kidding.
He's like, ha ha.
Just kidding, I've never blocked.
I think everybody obviously knows this guy doesn't block. It's
Mhm.
not his forte. This dude's got hops. He can get up and high point the ball. Like his highlights, if you're watching any of those, multiple times you see him elevate over everybody. And even though there was one highlight, I remember it was like a wide receiver was coming from one side, he was coming from the other side, and they were kind of heading toward the middle, and there's this big ball that just had to get high pointed, and all of a sudden he just came like out of nowhere. It looked like the receiver was going to get it, but he just went half a foot or a foot above everybody and just grabbed it. He's got some good hands.
He's going to be
So-
a great red zone threat in the
Right.
NFL. Like whatever NFL team takes him, it's obviously they're not going to be taking him for his run blocking. They're going to be taking him as a red zone target. So if he ends up in a good situation, he could have some pretty good seasons.
Well, I like that he did improve on everything because Travis just said that he has good hands, but his sophomore year, he had 5 drops that season, and everyone made it seem like he had 100 drops, and he was really down on himself. He trained the entire offseason going into his junior year, worked nonstop with it because obviously his hands are 10 and 8, they're huge hands. Why was he dropping so many balls? It's just the hand strength, I guess, wasn't there. But his last 2 seasons, junior and senior year, he played a total of 27 games there and didn't have a drop ball. Not one. So he went from 5 drops, and obviously that shows me that he's teachable and he's willing to learn and he's willing to put in the work at where he's weak, and that's that's huge for me because it's not like, oh, whatever, I have 5 drop balls, it'll just work itself out and whatever. He actually went and trained and specifically worked on something and got progressively better. And no drops in two seasons when he had over 100 catches. He had 105 catches in 2 years and didn't have 1 drop ball. So he did say, though, in an interview that he felt like he could have gave himself 1 drop, but he said it wasn't at his chest, that it was kind of off to the side, but he's like, I'm really hard on myself, so he's like, if anything, you could consider that a drop. But when I went back and looked at it, it was a horrible pass. Very modest.
They ran some things with him too, where he went in motion and he kind of came out of the backfield like a runner almost.
Yep.
Coming around, so I think they could use him a lot of ways. He's going to be a weapon, an offensive weapon, clearly.
Mismatch nightmare.
And I mean, you can work and be okay at blocking when you need to, but yeah, he's not going to come in, I don't think, and be a blocker.
No, but no team is going to go into it thinking that. So
he's Jimmy Graham, though. Like, Jimmy Graham, when he got traded to Seattle originally, and they were trying to use him as a blocker after he just destroyed in New Orleans with all these red zone targets and touchdowns and receptions and was getting 90 receptions a year for a couple seasons. Then they go into Seattle and they're like, all right, you're going to be our blocking tight end. If you remember, for like 7 weeks, he didn't do anything. Like, he was non-existent, and everyone was like, what's going on with Jimmy Graham? It's because they asked a pass-catching tight end to block, and that's just not the case anymore in the NFL. The NFL usually has a pass-blocking tight end and a receiving tight end, so maybe that's where he kind of fits in.
The line in Seattle was so decimated and so bad that they had to use every person they could to help block because Russell Wilson was running for his life.
Yeah.
So that's why Jimmy Graham didn't do as well at the very start because they tried to use him as a run blocker, but they almost had to. Like, they had this offensive weapon, but
they finally let him loose, and now he had a great season. He had 10 touchdowns last year.
Right. I think that Gesicki will be the same way in the NFL, but we kind of get spoiled, especially last year. We got spoiled by Evan Ingram kind of blowing up. But usually the tight end position is one that you kind of have to wait on. Like, they usually don't come into their own until their 3rd year.
Right. Well, Ingram himself kind of got forced into that. It was
because everyone was decimated.
They didn't have a choice. But the first 4 weeks or so, or 5 weeks, he was just there. He didn't do much, and then all of a sudden 3 injuries, and he's the #1 target all of a sudden, and he did very well. But again, you're right. It's usually not until 2nd, 3rd season for a tight end. You have to hold on. The O.J. Howards, Gerald Everett's, Njoku.
It's a hard position to learn. Like, they say that tight end is one of the hardest positions because they have to know every scheme, not just his position.
Yeah. I think part of it wasn't them just all of a sudden them letting him loose. Like, he had to compete early on when he got there because he was touted. Like Jay said, his coming out of high school, he was a highly touted athlete. I think Chris Godwin was there. He was competing for targets. Jesse James was there. So, like, he had guys. Hackenberg was there. That's a problem too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, after he left, I mean, things looked up, and he clearly benefited from it.
But I think that his #1 thing is his size. That if he adds a little bit of upper body strength at all, I think that he's already a mismatch problem for the linebackers and for the safeties and DBs to cover him because he's so big. And he's very good at quick off the line, straight line seam route running, and a huge red zone target. Every time they said that he annihilated up to seam, and that's where tight ends can do the most damage because up to seam, if you find they're in the zone or if you find that little crease, he can be getting 20, 25-yard receptions all day long if he's with the right quarterback and the right offensive system. And they actually use him correctly, he could have a big season once he gets comfortable with the playbook and the blocking and everything else. That'll come later, but as far as him making big playability and red zone target, I love him. I just don't know where he fits in with the other tight end group coming out, with the Mark Andrews and the Goddard and Gesicki.
Hurst, yeah.
Hurst,
two guys.
I don't know right now until they all get drafted, April 26th, 7th, when the draft is done and we see where everyone went, then I'll kind of make my mind up of who I think is the #1, 2, 3, 4 tight end. Because right now I have them all very close.
So speaking of the NFL draft, where do you guys think he goes in the NFL draft? Like, what round? Maybe not necessarily what team you think he goes to, but what round do you see him going in? Because I think there's going to be at least 1 tight end, possibly 2 that go in the first round of the NFL draft. Oh. And I don't think either one of those is going to be Gesicki, unfortunately. I think it's going to be.
I'll let Travis go
first.
It's
going to be Goddard and
I mean, I don't know like where he goes.
I agree with Travis.
I'd rather look at like what teams he could thrive on.
New England.
What situations would be good. I think he's one of the top 2 tight ends that come out.
Regardless where he goes, or you're saying if he lands in the right spot?
What do you know? I mean, in the NFL draft.
Okay.
It might not be the first one taken, but I can see him as the second one taken.
As of today, the Panthers have asked him to come in for interviews.
The only one so far.
So far, yeah. I mean, it's still pretty early in the process. You still have some time, but
Maybe
The
Dallas.
Panthers.
Maybe Dallas.
I mean, Cam. Think about the Panthers though. The Panthers are actually looking into him to kind of take over for Greg Olsen. They just got rid of Ed Dixon. They let him go to Seattle, so they don't really have anybody behind Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen is getting kind of old. He maybe only has a year or two left. He has been hit by the injury the last like 2 seasons, and Cam Newton likes throwing to the tight end. That would be a really good position for him to land, I think, but you're not going to see immediate dividends.
Like I think that me personally, I'm a Lions fan. I think that a Lions fan Lions do. I'm sorry, take a tight end, not with the 120, but they have the 219, they have the 318. One of those 2 picks could be a tight end from them, and that's all. We don't have a tight end anymore. We signed what's his name, Levine Toilolo. Yeah, which clearly isn't like okay, we're all set now at tight end. Like we're gonna have to get a tight end. Toilolo is gonna be used more of a blocking tight end in my opinion, and I think if we get them. One of those tight ends.
A tight end last year too.
Yeah, where's he?
He's still there.
I know, but again, like where is he? Like you know what I mean?
Well, Ebron had a pretty good season last year, so I mean,
he did.
I don't know if Detroit takes a tight end super early in the draft, but when you look into like a Carolina, they have this the 223. I don't know if he'll be there at that point. That's kind of late in the second round.
For who? Carolina.
For Carolina, yeah, that's just the team that.
So you don't think you think all the 4 tight ends we just mentioned, or let's say 3 of them. The Andrews, Gesicki, and Goddard all go before the 3rd round in the NFL draft?
I think Goddard does.
Goddard does, I think.
Maybe not Mark Andrews?
There's a dark horse out there I keep hearing more and more. Ian Thomas?
Yeah.
His name? I keep hearing him more.
I just wrote his name down in my rankings.
And there's and I've heard a lot of the Hayden Hurst.
Hayden Hurst.
Kind of been
he's on the
around a lot.
He's on the older side because he was playing baseball.
Yes.
He's like 24, I believe, coming out in the draft.
I think like for dynasty wise, that's what turns me off of him if he's already an older prospect, and it takes however long to learn the
develop.
position.
Right.
That's a little sketchy, a little bit. But I mean, I don't. If I'm going to draft a tight end in my dynasty league, I want him to be athletic, and I want him to be like last year's tight ends. Like they were better than the ones that are coming out this year. They all ran like 4.4s, and like Joku and Ingram, they're fast, they're talented.
But most of the guys that came out of that last year's really good tight end class, you sat on your taxi squad besides probably Evan Ingram. More than likely, you didn't have to start O.J. Howard or Adam Shaheen or Joku, Everett. Those guys didn't really have to be started.
Okay, so in dynasty rookie draft then, when is the first tight end going to be taken?
2nd round.
Early, mid?
I say early to mid. I say before 206 a tight end's taken.
Because we had 2 tight ends go in the 1st round last year,
yes,
right? O.J. Howard and
Evan Ingram.
This
year I say early 2nd before you get the mids. I say like by 206 one will be gone.
See, I think in our league specifically, and I don't know how it is translated, but this is going to be our 3rd year. I think that a lot of teams are going to be scared off of taking tight ends, and they're going to want to load up on running backs and receivers because they'd rather take a chance on one of them than a tight end. They're going to say, oh, well, I have Greg Olsen or I have Jimmy Graham. I'm good for the next 2 seasons, and no one really discusses tight end because the tight ends that came out last season were so highly touted, and everyone wanted a tight end because they were supposed to be the biggest 4 names coming out, all this hype around them, and then none of them, like you just said, really panned out right away except for Evan Ingram. If you're looking at the 2nd round, you're like, oh, I got guys like Kerryon Johnson and Michael Gallup and these other guys that are like high-end names. Those are going to go first before the tight ends, I think. So you might be able to get one of these good tight ends as a steal in the back end of the 2nd round or early in the 3rd round that could potentially hit because guys are a little scared on
I think
taking such an early pick.
All it's going to take is someone like Goddard to land in New Orleans or even like Jacksonville,
Atlanta,
to where he's going to have like almost not instant, but he's going to be kind of pushed to the forefront, similar to Evan Ingram. That it's all it's going to take, and then all of a sudden you're going to get a little bit more hype. So I don't think it's going to be enough hype to get into the 1st round, but I do see it early 2nd round.
I could see 2nd.
Yeah, it all depends. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if one of them landed in a perfect, optimal situation.
Right.
And the hype train got going, and they went at the the beginning of the 2nd, back to the 1st. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if a guy goes in the 1st round of the NFL draft. I mean, it says a lot, especially if it's that optimal situation.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Is there anything else that you guys want to add to Mike Gesicki?
I'm good.
Learn how to block, brother. Learn how to block.
Keep running those routes. And,
I say keep
jumping
running the routes.
2 inches, man. Do it.
No, learn how to block. It'll make it a lot easier on you for the rest of your career.
The other tight end will be blocking for you, bro.
Possibly. Ready to crack one?
Let's crack it.